The pause. This is the shortest silence on this list. It lasts less than a second. You ask someone a question, they do not answer right away. That gap, that tiny delay before they speak, is doing something. Researchers who study conversation have measured it. The average gap between one person finishing and the next person starting is about 0.2 of a second. That is faster than you can consciously think. Your brain is already predicting the end of the sentence and loading your reply before the other person finishes talking. So when the gap stretches to a full second, you notice. You always notice. A 1-second pause before someone answers yes is not a yes, it is a no with extra steps. You have been reading these pauses your entire life without being taught how, and you were right almost every time. That silence lasts 1 second, the next one can last for years. The silence after the argument. 2 people in a car, nobody is talking. This silence has a texture. It is not empty. It is full of everything that was just said and everything that is being held back. Psychologists call the extreme version of this stonewalling. One person shuts down completely and refuses to engage, and it is one of the strongest predictors that a relationship is going to end. Not the shouting, the quiet. Shouting means someone is still trying. Stonewalling means somebody has stopped. Couples have gone months without discussing a single thing that mattered. Some go decades. They eat dinner, they talk about the weather, and a wall sits in the middle of the room that neither of them will ever mention. But at least those 2 people know the silence is there. The next one, nobody in the room will ever admit, exists. The family silence. Every family has a subject that nobody brings up. Nobody ever announced it. There was no meeting. No rule was written down. But somehow, everybody in that family knows exactly where the line is, and everybody stays on their side of it. Therapists have a name for this. They call it the family secret, and they have found that it does not stay in one generation. It travels. Children who were never told anything still grow up knowing something is wrong. They just do not know what. They can feel the shape of the hole. They can feel that a door in the house is locked, and they build their entire personality around not opening it. Sometimes the person who kept the secret dies, and it dies with them, and the family never finds out what it was. You may be carrying one right now that you will never learn the name of. That silence protects one family. The next one protects entire governments. The redacted silence. A black bar across a page. Somebody wrote something. Somebody else decided you cannot see it. And what is left is a document that is technically public and technically tells you nothing. The United States government classifies millions of documents every year. Some of them stay classified for 50 years. Some stay classified forever. But here's what makes redaction different from every other silence on this list. A blank page tells you nothing. A redacted page tells you that something is there. You are being shown the exact size and shape of what you are not allowed to know. Investigators have learned to read these. The length of the black bar tells you how many words were removed. Which paragraphs are missing tells you what the document was really about. The censor tried to hide the information and instead left you a map of where it is buried. That is a silence an institution enforces. The next one, nobody enforces at all, and it happens anyway. The silence of the witness. Something is wrong. A room full of people can see it. Nobody says anything. Psychologists have studied this for 60 years, and the finding is the opposite of what you would expect. The more people who witness an emergency, the less likely any single person is to act. One person alone will almost always help. A crowd will almost always freeze. The reason is simple, and it is horrible. Each person in that room looks around to check whether this is really a problem, and what they see is a room full of people doing nothing. So they conclude it must not be a problem. And by doing nothing, they become part of the evidence that convinces the next person to do nothing. Everyone is worried. Everyone is waiting for someone else to move first, and everyone's silence is telling everyone else to stay quiet. Researchers call this pluralistic ignorance, a room where every single person privately disagrees with what the room appears to believe, and every single person believes they are the only one. Nobody in that room is lying. Nobody is even choosing. The silence assembles itself out of people who all wanted to speak. You have been in that room. You did not say anything either. That silence is one that everyone chooses without meaning to. The next one is a silence a person cannot escape no matter how hard they try. The locked-in silence. In 1995, a magazine editor named Jean-Dominique Bobby had a stroke. When he woke up, his mind was completely intact. He could think. He could remember. He could hear every word being said around him. He could not move anything except his left eyelid. Doctors call this locked-in syndrome. The person is fully conscious and completely unable to signal it. Some patients are misdiagnosed as being in a coma and lie in a hospital bed for years, listening to people discuss them as if they were not in the room. Bobby was one of the lucky ones. A speech therapist worked out a system. She would read the alphabet aloud, and he would blink when she reached the letter he wanted. Letter by letter, blink by blink, he wrote an entire book. It took roughly 200,000 blinks. He died 2 days after it was published. That silence trapped one man. The next one wiped out an entire way of thinking. The dead language. Right now, there are languages on Earth with one living speaker. That person can no longer have a conversation. There is nobody left to have it with. They know every word, every joke, every insult, every song, and there is no one alive who would understand any of it. Linguists have a term for that final speaker. They call them a terminal speaker. When they die, the language does not just lose its last user, it stops existing. And a language is not a list of words. It is a way of dividing up reality. Some languages have no word for left or right, and speakers instead track absolute direction at all times, even indoors, even with their eyes closed. Some have no future tense. Some have words for relationships that English cannot describe at all. Around half of the 7,000 languages spoken today are expected to be gone by the end of this century. Each one takes an entire way of seeing the world with it, and nobody can ever get it back. That silence erases a people's voice. The next one erases the fact that they were ever there. The silence of the record. Historians have a phrase for the parts of the past that left nothing behind. They call it the silence of the archive. For most of human history, only a tiny number of people could write, and the people who could write were almost always the ones in power. So we have the tax records of empires and none of the words of the people they taxed. We have the names of kings and almost none of the names of the people who built their tombs. Billions of human beings have lived, thought, argued, fallen in love, and died, and left behind not a single recorded sentence. We know they existed. We can find their bones and their pots and their fingerprints in the clay. We will never know one thing that any of them said. That is a silence that hides human voices. The next one existed before any voice did. The silence of deep time. The Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. For most of that, it made no sound that anyone could have heard, because there was nothing on the planet capable of hearing. The first ears did not evolve until a few 100 million years ago. Before that, the volcanoes still erupted, the oceans still crashed, the atmosphere still roared. All of it was just vibration in the air with nobody there to turn it into sound. Sound only exists inside a nervous system. Out in the world, there is only pressure moving through matter. Your ear is what turns that into noise, which means for roughly 4 billion years, the Earth was perfectly silent, in the only way that actually counts. And it will be again. Every species goes extinct eventually, including this one. There will be a final ear on this planet, and after that, the volcanoes will keep erupting into nothing. That silence is a planet without listeners. The next one is a universe without air. The silence of space. Sound needs something to travel through. Air, water, rock, anything. Space has almost nothing, which means every violent event happening in the universe right now is completely silent. A star is exploding somewhere at this exact moment with the energy of billions of suns, and it makes no sound at all. The most powerful explosions in existence happen in total silence, forever. And if you have made it this far into the quietest video on this platform, drop a like and subscribe. Because the next silence on this list is one that human beings tried to enter on purpose, and they could not stay inside it. The Anechoic chamber. There is a room in Minnesota that is the quietest place ever built. The walls, ceiling, and floor are covered in fiberglass wedges that absorb almost every sound wave that touches them. The room sits inside another room, on springs, to keep the vibration of the earth itself out. The noise level inside is below the threshold of human hearing, and people cannot stay in it. When you remove all outside sound, your ears do not turn off, they turn up. You begin to hear your own body. Your heartbeat becomes loud. You hear your blood moving. You hear your lungs. Some people report hearing their own bones grinding when they move their head. Your brain uses ambient sound to keep track of where your body is in space. Take that away and balance starts to fail. Most people cannot stand up. Visitors report hallucinations within about 20 minutes. The room is not empty. It is a mirror, and what it shows you is that you have never once in your life been alone with yourself. That silence is one room on Earth. The last one on this list covers the entire universe. The Great Silence. There are somewhere around 100 billion stars in our galaxy. Most of them have planets. Many of those planets sit in the zone where liquid water can exist. Our galaxy is 13 billion years old, which is more than enough time for a civilization to rise, spread out, and fill the whole thing. By every reasonable estimate, the sky should be crowded. We have been listening since 1960. Radio telescopes have swept the sky for over 60 years, searching for any signal, any pattern, any single artificial noise from anywhere out there. We have heard nothing, not a whisper, not one confirmed signal in 6 decades. Scientists call this the Great Silence, and nobody has a good explanation for it. Maybe intelligent life is far rarer than we assume. Maybe civilizations destroy themselves before they can be heard. Maybe we are simply first. But there is another explanation, and it is the one that keeps some astronomers awake. Every silence on this list so far has been an absence. Something was missing, or lost, or never there. This one may not be an absence at all. The dark forest hypothesis argues that the galaxy is not empty. It argues that the galaxy is full, and that every civilization out there has independently arrived at the same conclusion. That there is no way to know whether a stranger is friendly. That the cost of guessing wrong is extinction. And that the only safe move, once you understand this, is to stay perfectly quiet and never announce where you are. Under that theory, the silence we have been listening to for 60 years is not the sound of an empty universe. It is the sound of everyone hiding. And for the last 60 years, we have been the only ones broadcasting.